adult daughter, which should have been an omen had I believed in them. A few days later, on Tuesday, January 7th, I went to work concerned about the weather. Forecast that Santa Ana's were going to be possibly reaching 100 miles per hour. The air crackled with dryness. I was worried about falling trees and power outages as I made my way to work, never suspecting that my life was about to be irrevocably changed that day. Midday, I got a text from a neighbor that we had lost power due to a fallen tree. I was not looking forward to going back home, and I was chatting with my sister in Canada when I got another text about a fire in Eden Canyon. We lived in West Altadena, which is really far from Eden Canyon. Again, concerned but not alarmed. But soon the story changed. I will spare you the details of what came to pass that night as we watched the blooming red stain on the night sky grow larger from our bedroom, and the 3:25 evacuation order, the scramble in the dark, smoke and fierce winds to pack our cars, the red flames licking the mountains as we departed to a friend's home, and the intense trauma that followed. I lived with my longtime partner in a West Altadena home, and we also bought a home together nearby which we used as a rental. We had 2 homes to lose. We soon found out that they had both survived, the rental just barely, with one wall in the backyard and most of the neighborhood reminiscent of a war zone. I have no words to describe our lived experiences in those few days. So much of Altadena burned down to the ground with no landmark left behind to know where we were. Ironically, I know Sherry from years of environmental activism, mostly around working to pass laws related to public health threats from plastics. I knew too well what the byproducts of burning plastics were: VOCs, PAHs, dioxins, furans, benzene, and a cocktail of heavy metals and particulate matter. Dense housing of older stock with lead paint, as well as old cars, trucks, RVs, and EVs had all burned down and pushed into every orifice of our houses with the help of 80-mile-per-hour winds. This is not a forest fire. This is called a WUI, a woodland-urban interface fire, and is a toxic beast. But we soon learned about the new beasts, bigger and even more powerful than the fire in the Santa Ana's. SCE, the insurance industry, and the plausibly complicit and corrupt insurance commissioner, the effete and ignorant public officials, and the potential cover-up of a catastrophe so vast that it will take decades to see its full impact. Many of us banded together to form citizen advocacy groups with two main ones: Eden Fire Residents United, EFRU, and EFSN. I work with EFRU, which concerns itself primarily with standing homes. Our members include JPL Caltech scientists who soon crowdsourced industrial hygiene testing reports of the nearby homes. We soon found out that the protocols for this testing are very deficient, as are the proposed methods for what is called remediation. Unfortunately, most of the homes left standing must be completely gutted and all contents discarded. Nobody wants to pay you for that. Homeowners who had fair plan, including us, were told we were not covered, and to just clean the houses ourselves, it was only soot and ash. So many families could not afford to fight and went back to their toxic homes. Other insurance companies dragged their feet to try and run out the clock, sent complicit testing and remediation companies, and underpaid for costs. Of those of us with standing homes, so many of us are still displaced and face tens of thousands of out-of-pocket costs. That's actually an underestimation, probably more like hundreds of thousands. For those forced back to go to toxic homes, I suspect we will see increases in developmental disorders, asthma and respiratory conditions, cardiac events, and cancers over the coming years. This is going to be our 9/11. And the houses are not the only things which are toxic. The soil and the landscape are also testing positive for a bevy of heavy metals. FEMA used to help excavate these soils, but not this time. Most of our homes need to be torn down to the studs and will never be safe. This assertion is supported by the EFRU data showing that most of these homes are still highly contaminated after repeated rounds of remediation. We have learned about what is called the ash zone, which undoubtedly went far beyond the confines of the evacuation zones. The ash travels 10 to 20 miles southwest. We have been advocating on defining an ash zone for our public officials, but so far it has fallen on deaf ears. Tens of thousands of families may unknowingly be at risk. The list of culprits in this devastation is very long. The reality is that there are not enough money to truly address the effects of this disaster, and those folk who are responsible are fighting with each other. In the meantime, most of us are displaced. Who will pay for our blighted lands, our blighted lives, and our families at risk. Will it always be us, or are we going to write a different ending for this story? The Make Polluters Pay Climate Superfund would reduce the onus of responsibility for climate change and severe weather events on the taxpayer and place it on corporations which are largely to blame for it. This legislation would create a pool of billions of dollars, and some of it would be earmarked for victims of climate disasters. It would have been so helpful to have this available to the residents of Altadena. California needs money to mitigate climate change and build resilient communities. We need to rethink our urban development, fire prevention and response, and a comprehensive recovery strategy. We need money for equitable testing and remediation of homes, schools, libraries, and businesses. Altadena has a large population of transgenerational owners, non-insured and underinsured residents, as well as renters who were severely impacted. We also need money to remediate the toxic soil and water caused by such events. As extreme weather survivors, we support the California Climate Superfund and are here to make it the law of the land. Thank you.